Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Lineup Lock Show for SportsEthos DFS today. I am your host, Keith Cork. I am joined by Arnold Cadena here. We are waiting here also for Jamie McGuire, Macquarie, who's going to be joining us as well here in a few minutes. He's just running a little bit late. But we are excited here, Arnold. Obviously, it is a interesting slate. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a great slate. There's a lot of question marks here, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of holes to fill in this slate, especially in this last little hour before the game start. I'm
Yeah.
sure we're going to see some news. I'm sure we're going to see some people out. I'm sure we're going to see some people in. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the slate.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will start breaking this down for you guys. If you guys aren't following and you aren't already subscribed, go ahead and like and subscribe this video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You'll get notified every single time we go live. But we are going to go ahead and get this to you. I am actually logged out of Twitter, but that's okay. I can just access Twitter on my phone. I am on my new rig, so I won't be pausing like I was last time. So hope you guys will appreciate that one. But let's go ahead and break down what we know already here, Arnold. And obviously, I think the biggest one here that we just have to kind of jump to is Orlando. And you were talking to me about a few guys you do like in Orlando already. So obviously for Orlando, they've ruled out Paulo Banchero, Markel Fultz, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr. and Gary Harris. So starting five all ruled out. What are you looking for here, man?
I'm looking for the depth that Orlando has. I mean, of course, I know you're big on Bull. That's one guy that definitely we're going to be targeting. I was mentioning to Keith that I'm a huge fan of Chuma. He's just a personal guy for me. Someone that comes in and kind of just plays that point guard position, even though he is a forward. Comes in, plays that point forward position for them, same way that Banchero's been doing, same way that Fran's been doing. I feel like he's a plug and play guy for Orlando. I think he's going to be really good. And I remember last time Orlando was in a situation like this, and I saw Chuma come up on the depth chart. I didn't take advantage of it, and it bit me in my butt. I didn't like it one bit. So I think I'm going to run with Chuma. Outside of that, I wouldn't necessarily want to target like Cole Anthony or Jalen Suggs. There's a chance that they just play 15, 20 minutes and kind of just leave the game afterwards. Maybe they let the younger guys come through. Michael Carter Williams is going to be playing tonight. That's something. So
Interesting. Yeah, a guy
that
I
that
haven't thought
that's
about in a
something.
while. That's a guy
That's
I
a
haven't thought
rookie
about in
of
a
the
while.
year.
Yeah, rookie of the year, Michael Carter Williams.
Rookie of the
I was
year.
all on that hype train when he was with the Sixers, man. I was like, this guy's the real deal, and yeah, that turned out to be a terrible call. So that's an interesting guy to target. I do think Cole Anthony is worth a look here. Obviously, I think he's going to be highly owned. I think that's one reason I
hmm
might steer. I wouldn't like necessarily go all in on Cole Anthony, but he does have a very nice ceiling, obviously. So if he is out there for 30 plus minutes, which I don't think we can absolutely count on it. But I do think, with these guys out, I think he is going to get near that. And I apologize. I'm not trying to be rude, guys. I'm looking at my phone, trying to look at Twitter because I can't get logged into my computer. On my new computer, I did set up most of my stuff, but not logging into Twitter, obviously. So don't mind me while I be rude. But yeah, I think Cole Anthony is an interesting guy, and Jalen Suggs is interesting as well. Jalen Suggs, I think, is a little bit more risky of a play. I think Cole Anthony's fine. But yeah, as you mentioned, Bull's a guy I'm really on. I mean, obviously early in the year, we saw him doing amazing things with the minutes that he was getting, and this just reeks of a let's go ahead and just play Bull for 30 minutes type game because literally does not matter. They have nothing to lose here. And Bull again, per minute monster. All he needs is minutes. I'm projecting him for I would hope at least 28 minutes. I'm thinking 30 plus though. So if he's going to get that, I think it's going to be really hard for me to stay away. So that is a guy I'm looking at. I like your Chuma call though. Chuma's a guy I didn't really think too much about, but I know I streamed him a lot in fantasy season-long fantasy leagues, and for steals and stuff like that. And so I think if you're playing on FanDuel, that's something to consider. He's a guy that produces steals at a very high rate, and steals obviously on FanDuel are worth 3 points as opposed to 2 on DraftKings. So I think he is a guy you can definitely look at on FanDuel. I don't think I even looked at his price tag over there.
36 and 3K
Yeah.
on DK.
Okay, perfect. So he's basically minimum pricing on both sides. So yeah, that is a good guy. Obviously, you can target. Some other guys that I'm maybe kind of looking at would be like a Caleb Houston at 3,100 near minimum pricing. He's just a young guy on that team that they're interested in giving more looks towards. So I think he would probably be in line for at least 25 minutes here. So that'd be interesting. But yeah, other than that, hard to really know. I mean, I've seen these guys in the box scores before. I have never watched them play like a J Scrub or a Kevon Harris. I'm sorry. Like I've seen him pop up here and there. Admiral Schofield used to be with the Wizards, but I'm just not sure if I can trust those guys necessarily. I think you're fine though. You don't need to pop up too many $3,000 guys here. We've already given you several there, but Goga Patazde is another guy I'd be looking at as well. Obviously, I was high on him in the last couple slates, but 3,300 for him on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's a little priced up if I remember correctly. He's let me see, 4,900. Yeah, I wouldn't go there in FanDuel. You can't trust that he's going to get more than 2 minutes or something like that. I think he'll probably split minutes with Moritz Wagner. I think a lot of people are going to play Moritz Wagner expecting a lot. I just don't know if that's going to happen. So I'm not necessarily like all guns ho on him on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, I mean, as long as he's getting 22 to 25 minutes, again, he's going to produce 20 to 25 DK points at least, and considerable upside if he happens to play 30 plus minutes, which is possible. I don't think it's probable, but hey, Jamie, I brought you on, man. Sorry about that. Just saw you sitting there, but I do like some Goga Patadze here. But talk to us here a little bit, Jamie, since you're just joining us about the Orlando Magic. We kind of mentioned our favorite guys in that game, but obviously all the starters are out. So who are you targeting in that game?
Yeah, this is a juicy one. I think this game presents a little more silly season value as far as players who can step into larger roles and produce some higher usage kind of games. So I love me some Bol. I think he's going to be really popular. Chuma Okeke, I mean, we've seen him put up some really nice lines. And Market Carter-Williams, these guys are all 3K. And then Mo Wagner's 3,100. So they're all very enticing in GPP lineups. The Cavs player is a little less enticing. So I think on the Magic side of that game, I'm going to be hammering Bol, getting to some Okeke, maybe even some Michael Carter-Williams.
Well, let's touch on that, Kurt. So a lot of those guys, same guys you were talking about before, but let's touch on those Cavs. Obviously, they're also sitting out their entire starting lineup, and Karis LeVert as well. So he might have been starting, but either way, they're sitting a bunch of their guys. Obviously for me, I'm actually going to go throw a guy out there that maybe a lot of people aren't going to be on, but it's Raul Neto. It's sort of spelled Raul. Raul looks like, but it's actually pronounced Raul Neto. But yeah, he's been a guy that I've played before in DFS quite a bit. In limited minutes, he's able to put up really good fantasy lines. So I do like Neto here at 3,000. He's minimum pricing. I think a lot of people are going to go with Rubio at 3,100, which I don't blame you. Absolutely. I think I'm a little wary because I'm looking at his game logs. I'm not seeing any minutes here above like the 20-minute threshold or so. And obviously, he just had a really major injury. He's getting up there a little bit in age. So I really don't feel like we are absolutely locked into like 30 minutes of Rubio here. That's the one thing that does give me pause. What do you think about that, Arnold?
Yeah, I think the ceiling for him is really high. I don't think you necessarily see the whole 30 way. As far as like Rubio goes, he's a guy that's definitely going to be able to stuff the stat sheet, but there is a lot of other places you could go, especially at 3K. I'm still big on Rubio, don't get me wrong, but there's a couple other guys, especially on Cleveland side, that you could go with. I think one guy definitely being Chetty Osman, especially at the beginning of the season when the Cavs were a little bit depleted. Chetty was able to come in. I know he had a lot of really good lines. I know he had like a 29 and some around that. And I don't expect him to get 29 tonight, but I do expect him to come in and just fill the stat sheet up. Another guy that I also really like is kind of a sleeper, and necessarily you don't have to go 3K. There's a lot of 3K options, but if you want to try to go with a sleeper up pick, Isaiah Mobley. Mm-hmm. Robin Lopez is not going to play 30 minutes tonight. I don't even know if he'll play 15. So you're really looking at those backup guys that are going to have to contend with the big men for Orlando. I think Isaiah's a good pick. I think it just brings morale, just the fact that Evan Mobley's younger brother maybe playing some starting minutes, kind of like the Thanasis.
A little bit of Kostas or Thanasis Antetokounmpo type vibes here.
That kind of vibe. That might be something to play around with if you want to be fancy, if you want to be a little bit mysterious,
Yeah, I think if you're playing in large fields, that's a good call because I don't think anyone's going to own him. I'm looking right now at his like game logs for the season. The most minutes he's played this season is 6.5 minutes. I don't know how invested they are in developing this guy for the future. I think it's definitely a risky play, but if you're in a big, large field GPP, I think it's fine. I mean, they're going to have to play somebody, and there's no reason to believe he can't get to at least 20 minutes. So I do like that call for that particular game format. All right, Jamie, who do you got in this Cleveland game, man? Who are you eyeing?
Well, I mean, CD Osman's kind of the obvious call. I feel like his rostership's going to be pretty dang high. And then, like I had alluded to, I feel like players like Dean Wade, Lamar Stevens, these are guys who depend on other stars to produce. I don't think they can really fill a usage vacuum. So I would say Cleveland. I'm fading pretty hard. I don't disagree with Arnold, but I will throw out there that we're doing a lot of guesswork, and I could see, last year Robin Lopez was a silly season hero at the end of the year, and you'll remember that well. So yeah, I think
disagree.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I think Robin Lopez, I might throw him a bone or two, but just these are kind of spot up shooter role player guys, other than CD Osman. Interesting call on the Mobley train, but I'm just going to be getting to a lot of more of these Magic guys at that price range.
Yeah. I don't think you need to dig too deep on the Cavaliers because there's so many other 3,000, guys that are around that are just way more solid value.
Exactly.
Again, throw out there Bol, Goga Patadze. I know, Chumo Keke. I mean, these guys are just so cheap. You don't really have to go digging too far, I don't think. But again, large field GPPs, if you do that digging and you end up with a guy that's only 0.7% owned or something like that, and he goes off, then hey, more power to you, man. That's really good. So that's kind of how I view it there. All right, so let's go ahead and head over to Denver. Obviously, that's another team. We are still waiting on some news here. Let's just kind of dig into that though. And we've got Jokic already ruled out, Jamal Murray already ruled out, but Aaron Gordon is technically questionable. I think he's been questionable for all day at this point. Michael Porter Jr. also has been questionable for at least several hours here. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope also questionable. So they're listing all their starters are either questionable or out. But for some reason, 3 of them are still questionable. They've got no incentive to play this. They've clinched the best record in the West. So I don't really understand why they're not just ruling these guys out. I would have to lean towards them not playing. What do you feel about that, Arnold?
Yeah, I just waiting for them to come out. I mean, we're going to get a lot of news towards the end. We had mentioned before the show that Aaron Gordon was still playing, Michael Porter is still playing. If they're out, and even if they're in, honestly, I'm a huge Reggie Jackson guy. I really like Reggie in this slate. I really think that he could produce. I mean, we saw it in LA when Kawhi didn't have PG or PG didn't have Kawhi. I mean, a couple of players got to step up, and I think Reggie's one of those guys that could definitely step up for Denver. Even if they aren't playing for the win necessarily, he's still a good guy to pop in there around the 5K. But we should probably expect some more news to be dropping. This is a later game. It's going to begin at 10. So we should be able to see something if you have a couple of those like those 2-game plays like on DraftKings or FanDuel where it's like OKC and Denver. Maybe you want to lean towards that direction where you go like a Reggie Jackson or maybe someone like Bruce Brown. But yeah, I'm sure we'll see some more news drop. Michael Porter maybe not playing and Aaron Gordon not playing either.
Yeah, obviously, just to pause here real second, guys. If you guys do have guys in the Denver Phoenix game in your lineups, make sure you stack them in the guard, forward, or utility spots on DraftKings. FanDuel doesn't really matter because those guys are just make sure you have a plan. I would say on FanDuel, if you're going to play a guy in the Denver Phoenix game, know who you're going to swap to if they get ruled out or if somebody else gets ruled in or I guess steps into a bigger role. Just have a plan for that because at this point in time, like you said, there's a lot of question marks. That's probably the game that we have the least information about at this point. So I'm kind of just staying away from it at this point. What any thoughts on it at this point, Jamie, with the Denver Nuggets playing the Phoenix Suns?
I'm with you. In the 5-game slate, if you're messing with a turbo lineup or something where there's just 2 games, then you might be getting some of these guys. But with it being the last game of the night, I'm just not messing with it. Even Reggie at 5K, I'd much rather get to Jalen Suggs and Orlando at 4K. Just lock that in early than mess around with that. So for me, this is a pretty hard fade on the Nuggets side.
Yeah, and even so, even if these guys sit and there's value to be had in that game, I feel like the game environment, the game total is probably going to be one of the lowest on the slate, anyways. It's probably going to be a slow-paced game. I'm trying to see here. It looks like 222.5 is what they have that game total at. It's actually not the lowest. 213.5 for the Nuggets or the Cavaliers, and Magic is actually the lowest here. But I think that's actually ticking up at this point because it's been kind of overcorrected. It overcorrected at some point. So take for that what it's worth. But yeah, kind of interesting stuff there. But yeah, let's talk about. So I think one of the biggest questions we have on this slate, guys, is going to be like, who do we actually trust to spend up on? Who are we going to spend our salary on? So I kind of want to talk about that at this point in time while we wait for some more news here. We're about a minute away from another injury news drop here. So we'll have news in a few minutes here. But as we have a few minutes here, for me, I'm just going to talk about my favorite kind of spend up here. It's got to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Got to be.
10-2. I really don't know how you fade this guy in this slate. Can't really trust a lot of the other guys. I think there's other guys you can go with. But, this is a must win for the Thunder. The Utah Jazz are not going to go quietly. Right now, we've got a 7-point spread, so it's not like it's going to be a blowout. I really don't think it's going to be a blowout. OKC Thunder really just don't blow people out usually. So I think Shai Gilgeous is my top guy. Sounds like you're in agreement with me there, Jamie.
Yeah, honestly, and that's a really important part of this slate, that this game is not a blowout, that it stays competitive. Because not only do I agree with you that Shai's kind of the main building block today at 10,200, I think this is the most stackable game. If it's a competitive game, you're going to want to be getting to some Olynyk. If THT is ultimately ruled in, and then obviously Giddey on the other side. So there's a lot of ways to kind of build around this game shooting out. And I think it's really the key to the slate today. It's maybe one of the only things we can trust.
Yeah, and I think SGA has got to be my guy. He's 10-6 on FanDuel also, so I'm going to go with him on FanDuel as well. But as you mentioned, though, running him back with Kelly Olynyk, that's what I'm doing in my lineups here because I feel like this is going to be a competitive game. If I'm going to script it as a competitive game, someone on the Utah Jazz is going to have to do a lot of scoring and assisting and rebounding, and that's going to be Kelly O in my book. So I'm running it back with Kelly O. Arnold, what do you feel, man? You got another spend up maybe you're looking at that we're missing here that's gold for you?
Yeah, outside of Shea, I mean, the only spend up that I would probably go with would probably end up being like Joel Embiid. If we're staying in the same range, but outside of that, no, they're not really. One person I do really like though, and I know you mentioned it with the stack, I like Jalen Williams, and not the center, the forward, Jalen Williams. I think that this is not going to be a blowout. This is going to be a competitive game. It's going to be a fun one too. You have Shea, and Shea has to go up against prime THT. This is not going to be a blowout. I'll tell you that for sure. And there has to be a second guy to come through. So I think Jalen Williams is going to be that second guy. He's going to be able to put them over the top. I think he's a good stack with SGA.
I think Jalen Williams and Giddey are really great GPP plays because they're going to be probably lower owned on this slate because everyone's going to have SGA. And once you have SGA and that much salary dedicated to the Thunder, you kind of look at it and say, I don't want to have that other guy there. So I think they're going to have pretty low, surprisingly low ownership, despite it being a 5-game slate. So I do like those calls for sure. I think any of the OKC Thunder that are key guys are really in play here. So that would be Giddey, Jalen Williams, or Lu Dort even at 5,800. It looks like he's questionable right now, but if he plays, that would be another guy that would have just really low ownership that you could definitely go with in a GPP. But for me, I'm just trying to hit that money line today because there's so much uncertainty. I'm going with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm just going with the easy money because I just really don't know what's going to happen here. But let's talk about obviously. We just had some more news drop here. Let's just take a look real quick.
Yeah, we had Shaedon Sharpe out. Lu Dort just came in. Drew Eubanks is going to be in. Kevin Knox is in.
Oh, Eubanks is in there. It is.
So Shaedon's out, and you said Eubanks is in. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I do like Eubanks. Let's talk about the Portland Trailblazers. That perfect timing there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and head over there. Jamie, why don't you talk to me about what you're looking at here, man?
Well, that's interesting. So you have Shaedon out, which kind of clears things up a little bit, but that saying things are clear with the Blazers right now, but it doesn't really track. But yeah, I mean, Eubanks, what is he, 5,800? I could see it getting to some of him. One player that's crept up and kind of surprised me is Jabari Walker. He's sitting at 5,100. I've been tempted by him, but he actually hasn't produced more than 25 TK points. So with Eubanks in, I would fade Jabari Walker at 5,100. Also Skylar Mays, I like him at 64, but again, I'm so locked into Jalen Suggs at 4K that I have some builds to where I ended up saving a little money and I faded Skylar Mays, but I think he's going to produce if he's on the floor. He's kind of like their tank weapon right now. I mean, they're tanking so hard that, they pulled Shaedon Sharpe with, I think 8 minutes to go. Yeah. It was tied and he just didn't play again. So taking it to a whole new level over there. So just proceed with caution on all of these plays. Probably my play of the day here, especially in GPP, if you're trying to play it safe. Trey Jones active. If he plays 30 minutes, he's one of my favorite plays of the day. So if you're looking for a little safety, Trey Jones. If you want to live a little dangerously, Skylar Mays. But yeah, it's going to be a wild game. But yeah, I think Trey Jones, Skylar Mays a card. And then my boy, Sandro Mamukelashvili at 5,800. That's a fade now if Zach Collins does play on the Spurs side.
Yeah, I do like Zach Collins here. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let me just with the Portland side, I had some Shaedon Sharpe in my lineups here on DraftKings. I thought he was a pretty good play at 7,800. But as you're talking here, I'm swapping them out here. I've got some THT now, which is around the same price. I had some extra salary sitting around anyways. But I will say with the Portland Trailblazers, Shaq Harrison's the guy at 4,200 that's sticking out to me. I know Skylar Mays is a guy that a lot of people are going to go on. I mean, 6,400. I think it's fine. I mean, I think he's going to play a lot of minutes, and I think he'll be just totally fine. But if you're looking for a guy that has a little bit more upside, just strictly because his salary is so low, yeah, Shaq Harrison's the guy. And as I mentioned, before, I think on the podcast or the last live show we did, he played for the Bulls for a while, so obviously I'm familiar with his game. But he's just a bowling ball, man. He just gets downhill, goes at people. So I feel like this is going to be a sloppy game, and I feel like it could be a Shaq Harrison special where he gives you 30 DK points. So that'd be pretty nice at 4,200. But anyone you're looking at here on the Portland side, Arnold?
No, it was Shaq Harrison for me, honestly. I really like the kid.
I stole you. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. You have a little bit more insight than it is. You actually got to see him play and everything. Right now, I'm kind of just looking at what he's done for the last 3 games. They gave him a 10-day contract. He's going to play. Like, they're giving the kid the chance. Might as well let him play. Might as well let him go out there, knock some heads off, You might even you might start, right?
Well, yeah, he might. It's funny you're calling him a kid, though, because he's like 35 or something.
Right.
He's like, how old is he? No,
I'm 36.
Yeah, me too. He's younger than me, so you can call him a kid. But I'm curious he's only 29. Okay. I thought he was older. 29.
Did we mention Kevin Knox is he's in too, so he'll be
Kevin Knox in.
Yeah. He's let's see, his price is 5,200 on DK. Oh gosh, don't know if I can trust Kevin Knox. He's gonna go 3 for 30. He's gonna put up a Killian Hayes line. I'm just gonna call it right now. 3 for 30 from the field, and I don't know, just crazy. He's 5,000 on FanDuel. I think he's a fine play though. I mean, obviously there's that risk involved where he's chucking up shots and not necessarily taking the highest quality shots, but I think it's fine. I think there's other guys I would definitely gravitate towards. Though.
Would you rather play him at 5,000 or Isaiah Joe at 4,600 and kind of lock that safety in?
That's a good question. That's a good comparison. I think I would actually probably rather go Kevin Knox just because of the upside there.
Okay.
Just because the usage is going to be there. Absolutely. He's got the upside. He also has a lower floor though, for sure. So
well, what makes today's slate interesting is it could be the ultimate day. Somebody's going to hit big money where they just plug in Chuma Okeke. I'll use an example at his minimum salary and leave 2,000 on the board. And that could be the top lineup. So I will just say as a general philosophy, don't be afraid to leave money on the board today, but because these guys are stepping into these usage roles, don't get locked into a Kevin Knox at 5,000 if you like somebody more at 3,000. It's hard to do, but
yeah, that's a good call, man. Yeah, absolutely. Don't be afraid to leave. I always try to make it a rule, kind of don't leave more than 500 on the table. But I think on a slate like this, you can definitely go with like 1,000 or 2,000 and still win a GPP. That's for sure.
It feels a little funny.
It does. Funny. It does. All right, let's talk about those Spurs, though. We did mention Zach Collins a little bit at 6,700 on DraftKings. I think he's absolutely a lock for me. Again, Spurs aren't playing anybody. Everybody's out, basically. Even on FanDuel, where he's 7,200, he's still a lock. I mean, the Portland Trailblazers are also absolute crap. So, he's one of the few actual NBA players playing in this game now that Shaedon Sharp's been ruled out. You also have Trey Jones, which you mentioned. I like him a bit, too. But for me, I think it's Zach Collins. I'm locking it in. He's had a couple of not so good shooting games, if I remember correctly, in the last 2. I'm on FanDuel. I'm not able to see that, but I believe he hasn't shot the ball well. Here we go. 6 of 13 and 6 of 14 from the field the last 2, so not great. But if he shoots a little bit better than that, he still scored 38.5, 29.5 DK points. So any feelings specifically one way or the other on Zach Collins, Arnold?
Oh, I'm a huge Zach Collins guy. I have him on my in my fantasy for championship, so I'm really hoping he kind of just comes through today. But yeah, no, huge on Zach Collins. He always performs when he's on the court. Let the man loose. He's going to go crazy.
I'm going to call my lineup here that I've got so far on DraftKings the big goofy white guy lineup because I've got Zach Collins, Kelly Olynyk, and Goga Bitadze. So I'm just going with all. And I mean, I've got Bull. He's not a white guy, but he's a big goofy guy. So maybe just the big goofy guy. Why bring race into it? Big goofy guy lineup. There we go.
THT got downgraded to questionable.
Well, yeah, I'm concerned about him because he came out probable early, and when you see that probable tag roll out and the team's intentions, I've started getting him out of my lineups a little bit because it's a later game. So I'm nervous on THT. You've just clarified that, Arnold.
Yeah. So
I also have a lineup lock for Orlando, Cleveland.
Okay.
Jalen Suggs, Houston, Okeke, Bol, Mo Wagner.
I like it. Mo's getting the start, not Goga, but that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Cole Anthony on the bench.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
You say Whitney Houston is at shooting guard today?
Whitney Houston. Caleb Houston. I like him. I
Right.
like him quite a bit. He's a young guy. Hasn't scored a whole lot of DK points, so I think he's going to be low owned. So that's a good GPP guy for you also. I'm trying to get Kelly O out of my lineup here. I think with Kelly, I'm sorry, not Kelly O, THT out of my lineup here. I think with THT out, I think you do get a little bit of a. Oh, we're not going to rule him out yet. He's questionable. I'm sorry. I should back up there. He's been downgraded to questionable. That's usually never a good sign though, when it's 20 minutes to tip off. But I think Ochai Agbaji gets a nice little bump there with no THT. I think he'll get a lot of shots. So that's a guy I'm looking to get into my lineups now as we speak. Any other takeaways, Jamie, from that THT downgrade?
Yeah, Obaji is the obvious one. At 5,100, he was a lock early. And then when some of these value plays started popping up, I started getting him out of my lineups. I'm going to try to have to sneak him back in there. I did want to take it back real quick to the Zach Collins thing.
Go ahead.
So with Zach Collins, I've had him in my lineups early, and I find myself going to DeAndre Ayton, saving about $200. And I love Zach Collins, but it's just really hard to trust the Spurs. And I do think that DeAndre Ayton could get a nice allotment of minutes, just kind of beating up the second tier Nuggets. So you guys getting any Ayton over Zach Collins, or are you locked with Zach Collins?
I'm locked with Zach Collins personally.
Locked with Zach Collins.
I'm super high on him. Yeah, I think. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not always right, obviously, but yeah, I think Zach Collins is the guy to go with for me because he's just had so much usage. He's got such a prominent role on that Spurs team. I think it's hard to beat there. But it sounds like you're in agreement, Arnold, right?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I mean, ever since Podol got traded, Zach Collins has been that guy for the Spurs to come in, be that big guy. He's that dude. He's that dude, and he's just him. I like Zach Collins tonight.
Yeah,
it'll probably be the last time we see him, but there's a chance.
Trying to see here what Ochai's. Oh, here we go. Ochai's salary on FanDuel is 5,700, which is also enticing. I'm probably going to get. Looks like I have Michael Porter in my lineup right now. I'm probably getting him out. All right. Any other news that we've had drop recently? As I said, I'm Twitterless right now, so I apologize about that, guys. But sounds like Arnold's got a beat on it. So
no, nothing as of late.
Yeah, no.
Well, I think the only game we haven't really spoken about here too much
Miami
is the game that actually, this game. I mean, it doesn't mean a lot for Philadelphia. Like I said, I'm surprised they haven't ruled out Embiid or Harden or both because it just doesn't matter a lot for them. But for the Miami Heat, this is a big game. They still, if they win out and the Nets lose out, I think it is, or something like that, they could still slide to sixth. I mean, that's not going to happen, but there's still an outside chance at that, right? So. I mean, I wouldn't call it a big game for the Heat, I guess, but they're going to be trying to win it, I believe. So, I mean, I guess Arnold, what's your read on this, man? Are they going to try to win this game? Either team. I mean, who's in it to win it for this one?
I think the Heat are in it to win it, honestly. I think you kind of have to, try to go for the win. I think you want to go for the 6th seed. I don't think you want to be in the play-in tournament when you have to play Bulls or the Raptors or even Hawks. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. So I don't think they would necessarily want to take that risk. I know it's kind of iffy because the 6th seed belongs to Brooklyn right now, but I mean, just for the fun of it, I mean, you kind of have to just go out there and win today. I don't really see a situation where if you lose, you don't really put yourself in a better spot if you lose. And I think the best spot for them is just staying where they're at, get the win.
Well, there's something to be said down the stretch too of trying to win games and getting into a flow or a rhythm before the games matter. But Jamie, what's your feel of this game? Are people going to be either team going to be trying to win this game more than the other?
So I'm giving this game a something to play for rating of 6.5 out of 10.
There you go. Perfect.
I ran through a little bit last night. So yeah, they're a game and a half out of the 6th seed with 2 games to play. One thing I just pulled up to take a peek at is the Nets. Their schedule, they have Orlando and they have Philly. So I think if you're Miami, you've been a little disjointed this year, a little disappointing. You got to run out tonight like it's a playoff game. So I do expect Jimmy and Bam to go out there and just go full throttle. With that said, of course, there's a little hesitation getting to Jimmy. I think it's 88 on DK with some of the other options. So I'm not locking him in or anything, but I think he is relatively safe tonight. So yeah, I think the Heat roll it tonight like it matters. With that subject to change because it's April. So
yeah, I'm leaning Heat in this one. I think I know the Sixers have a few guys already questionable on their side. Frank, I do want to address your question there. 3,900 left on DraftKings. I think you honestly need to reach. I'm looking at guys like 3,900, 3,800, 3,700, 3,600. I'm not liking any of it really. What's up?
Jalen Suggs.
Suggs is out. Oh, Jalen Suggs. I think he's 4,000 though. He's a little bit too expensive.
Yeah, you'd have to get.
Yeah, if you get 100 more.
$100 freed up, yeah.
But you said he says he already has Bol and OKK in his lineups. I mean, some other guys I'm looking at, sub 4,000, they're all basically minimum pricing, but Raul Neto is the guy we've mentioned here. I think.
What about CD Osman?
Yeah, Jetty Osman. Jetty Osman might be the safest guy under there.
7.
I think you just have to leave some salary there on the table at that point, Frank. So good question though. But yeah, I do think there's some good options there. I don't think there's anybody exactly 3,900 or 3,800. Just leave that salary on the table. So
roll with the play you believe the most, and just be willing to leave the salary.
Exactly. Trying to see what I'm going to do here. Oh man, Tyler Hero is kind of interesting. He'll have low ownership probably on the Miami
66.
side.
Yeah, he's tempting at 66.
He is tempting. That's a good GPP guy, I think. But yeah, I'm trying to get. I had Cole Anthony in my lineups on FanDuel, so I'm trying to swap off of him at this point. And also, I had THT on DraftKings, so I think I'm good now, though. So yeah, that's the latest news, guys. Anything else that you guys have observed here on this slate so far? We've about 14 minutes to lock here. It looks like Lou Dort is going to play. So again, I think that's a good GPP play. I think he's going to have very low ownership. He's 5,800 on DraftKings and FanDuel. Let's see. He's 5,900, so about the same on both sides. I think if you're in a large field GPP, that's a guy you can definitely roll with. I think you're between him and like Ochai Agbaji. Ochai is going to have it's going to be so sky high his ownership, and Lou Dort could outscore him. He very well could outscore him. Lou Dort could. So
that's a great point. Yeah, 5,100 at this point, Obaji is going to be just through the roof ownership wise.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anyone else you're eyeing here, Arnold, that we haven't spoken about? Any games that you're eyeing here, or teams or anything like that?
Yeah. We'll take it back to Utah real quick.
Yeah.
So I kind of like Damian Jones. I know he's coming off the bench in this one, but Udoka got all his minutes taken from Damian Jones in the last one. Damian Jones played a better game than him. And when this game comes to what we expect it to be, a close game, you might see Damian Jones get those late minutes. I think there's a lot of value there, especially at 4.1. I think it's a good play. I think it's just not necessarily like super, super safe, but I mean, definitely there's huge upside for Damian Jones, especially if the game does come to a close. I don't think Udoka gets those last minutes, those fourth quarter minutes.
Fair enough. Let me ask you guys, Keldon Johnson is questionable. Jamie, do you think he plays in this one?
Hell no.
I don't know why Keldon Johnson's even playing. When I saw that, I was so confused. I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I get this. I will be absolutely shocked if he plays. I mean, he plays. I mean, more power to you guys if you have the cojones. Cojones to go lock in Keldon Johnson, who I think has not played in the last 3 or 4 games for them. So,
no, I think that's just some injury report tomfoolery on the part of the Spurs there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the game plan is there, but I would not trust it. Don't think he's going to be playing. Man, it is so tough, man, as we're getting close to lock here, making these decisions, because some of these guys that seemed a little rocks out early here, not necessarily looking so great anymore. If you just tuned in, Cole Anthony is going to be coming off the bench. I'm a little bit lower on him now. I was hoping he'd be starting and playing a full 35 minutes or something like that. Arnold kind of talked me out of that one. So Arnold, if he does go for 35 minutes and 40 points, I'm going to say, screw you, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No one has a crystal ball here, but no, I think it's sound logic though. I don't know if he's going to have a full allotment of minutes here. I don't know if he's going to get 30 minutes. If you guys are just tuning in, hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and like the video. If you subscribe, you'll get it every time we go live. We're going to be bringing this to you guys through the playoffs as well. As you can see, I've got my new rig here. I got that big headphone set. I don't have it on anymore, but I've got my webcam. I've got my mic here. We are rocking, man. We are rolling, so I'm excited about it. But yeah, man. So this is a tough slate though, because it's just so much does not matter on this slate. These are the toughest DFS slates to play because you just don't know. Starter could be pulled in the middle of the game for no reason, just because it's like, oh yeah, you played your 20 minutes to get your run. Just to keep you fresh. Okay, looks like Taylor Horton. Oh, that's weird. I got that one. THT downgraded to questionable. I thought I said out, but he's just questionable now. So, Here's another name though from our SportsEthos blurb that is interesting since THT is questionable now. If he does eventually sit, Simone Fontecchio.
I was just squeezing him into a lineup, Keith. Yep.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and talk to him a little bit about us. If you're the big fan there.
Well, I'm not a big fan, but I was trying to get to a little.
You don't have a Fontecchio jersey? Where's your Fontecchio jersey?
Not yet.
That's pretty messed up.
It's on the way. It's 12 to 8 weeks in shipping.
Yeah.
It's, you know. But yeah, so getting a little Zach Collins. Had to downgrade to Fontecchio. I mean, they clearly are giving this guy some minutes. In 25 minutes, he had a 30-point DK ceiling so far, and that was on March 24th. So looks like he had a 34-point game as well. So there's just going to be a lot of usage to go around. This guy could get 30 minutes, and I think he can score a little bit. So yeah, he's a sneaky play. Obviously, he's going to have low rostership at 44. He's a little bit higher than some of the guys on the Magic or Cavs that got freed up today, but small forward can be a little tricky when you're trying to move things around last second. So it could be a nice contrarian play. Fontecchio, get some minutes out of him.
Yeah. He's a big 3-point shooter from what I know. You know, I haven't watched a whole of that Jazz since they started tanking. I watched a lot earlier in the season, but he shoots a lot of threes. So when you get a guy like that in your DFS lineup, you're just hoping that he's hot. I mean, if he misses a lot of threes, he goes 2 of 8 from distance, then you're probably not hitting value. So that's, you know, I think there's for me on this slate, it's a small slate. It's risky. It's not a bad play. It's not a bad play at all. But I think it's just too much risk for me personally because there's other guys around that salary that I'd rather have. If he's the last guy in your lineup, though, like you're mentioning, I don't mind it.
Well, let me ask you a theory question. So the reason I just got to Fontecchio, I dropped from Isaiah Joe to Fontecchio so I could bump up to Zach Collins from Aiden. And so I'm trying to weigh out the opportunity cost there. And that's just in one of my lineups. I wanted to get to some Collins, so I bumped down to Fontecchio. These are the kind of balance things you got to do here. So I agree. I feel like Fontecchio, it sounds like his role is a little similar to Isaiah Joe. He's going to be spotting up, knocking down shots, hopefully. So in a competitive game, that could get you to 25 or 30 DK points. And the floor is obviously, it's Fontecchio. So,
yeah. I think the one guy that's interesting that you guys have mentioned that I don't have in any of my lineups is Trey Jones. I think you were mentioning him, Jamie. So talk to me a little bit about Trey Jones and why you're high on him here.
I mean, it's just an incredibly competent NBA point guard in a G League game where they're going to be wearing NBA jerseys.
Yeah, true.
I mean, he racked up the other day. I had him in the lineup against the Kings. That game ended up going to overtime, and then they won in overtime. So look out because they're going to be trying real hard not to win this game. But he just racked up the dimes right away. So I just think there's nobody on the other side that's going to be able to keep him from facilitating and playmaking. So I do like him at his price tag. He's actually $300 cheaper than Skylar Mays. So, usually one of those guys is going to end up in one of my GPP lineups.
Yeah, I like that call, man, especially because a lot of people are going to be on Skylar Mays. Right. I think you pay $300 less for Trey Jones every single time, for me at least.
Agreed.
Even though Skylar's going to have a whole lot of runway, I just absolutely feel. What do you feel about that, Arnold? Are you on the same side as us there?
Yeah, no, Trey Jones is just he knows how to facilitate the ball. He knows how to win games. He knows how to do so much that the Spurs don't want him to do right now. This guy's a starting point guard anywhere else, and he's a top tier guy, And yeah, I think you put it perfectly. This is a G League game, NBA jerseys. Trey Jones should have a fun one in this one. The only thing I'm scared about is that if they get close to winning this game, they pull him out, doesn't get the minutes, and then some rookie comes in and just takes over the rest of the game. That's the only thing I'd be scared of.
You should be. That's healthy fear. That's a healthy fear.
But no, Trey Jones is great. I love Trey Jones, and I love what he could do for the Spurs, but Spurs don't need that right now.
We're about 7 minutes to lock, guys. I appreciate you all tuning in. We have had our highest viewership so far since the show started. Hope you guys like my new rig. You can see me so well right now. You can see my nice clear face. I definitely wash my face every day. Don't worry about it. I don't have 2 kids. Anyways, no. One thing I am looking at here, a little bit of injury news that we should be aware of and keeping on top of is Trendon Watford of the Portland Trail Blazers. He is questionable still. I know Eubanks got ruled in. I'm really high on Eubanks at 5,900 on DraftKings, but I think a Trendon Watford gets ruled in at 6,000. That's a real smash play. So I need to really see if he's in the play or not. I might swap off of Eubanks. I mean, they're basically the same price, 5,900 and 6,000, but I think Watford has the considerably higher ceiling. If I was going to compare those two, I think Eubanks is definitely the safer play, got a very safe floor for you. But they're not really interested in developing Eubanks. They're interested in developing Watford at this point. So I really think Watford would be the guy I would swap to. That's a little bit of just kind of under the radar injury news that I would kind of stay on top of there. But how are you feeling about that little dynamic there, Jamie?
Yeah, it's kind of like playing musical chairs, literally with your lineups and the Blazers with their lineups, trying to figure out this thing over in Portland. It's crazy when a player like Drew Eubanks is at risk of losing minutes because the team's trying to tank harder than playing Drew Eubanks allows you to. But that's where we're at. So yeah, I think his ceiling's a little capped. I mean, he's at his price range, he's still a value, but I think he's a little more of a floor play. But I actually just got to Eubanks, which allowed me to get back to Obaji by dropping from Collins to Eubanks and getting Fontecchio out of there to get Obaji. So this is the kind of game we're playing with 5 minutes to go, everybody.
Yep. You got to swap them around, see what's going in and out. Any recent moves you've made in your lineups there, Arnold? Actually, it's a good thing to kind of go to at this point.
Totally.
Honestly, I've had my lineup locked for a while already. I haven't really made any crazy moves. My lineup kind of stayed the same, but I am now reconsidering Reggie Jackson getting out of here. Maybe pop it in someone else.
Get Suggs
I had
in there,
Jimmy.
Arnold.
Get Suggs.
Trust me.
Suggs
Thank me later.
Suggs is an interesting guy. I will say that much. Go ahead.
I do have Jimmy Butler, and that was a lock from like about an hour ago, and I'm still like in between whether or not I really want him to be in my lineup. If I do go anywhere else, I have 10,500 left, and I can go anywhere.
You're on.
That's a problem.
You very quickly went from like this guy's assured of his lineups to just on tilt, which is beautiful.
I don't mean to make you second guess yourself, man. Don't second guess yourself. So, anyways, let me talk about this. Let's go here. So, who do we spend our money on? We talked a little bit about this earlier in the show, but we're about 4 minutes lock here. Obviously SGA's looks like a lock for a lot of lineups. He's going to be highly owned, and for good reason. I think he's a safe guy to go to. But I'm backing him up with Jimmy Butler at 8,800. We mentioned that Miami game. Looks like they're probably going to be trying to win this one. It's going to be probably the most competitive game on the slate. I think it's got the lowest spread out there, 1.5 points for the spread there. So I do like Jimmy Butler at 8,800. I don't feel like his ownership will be like fine. It's not going to be too high, not going to be too low. I think a lot of people will go to like an Embiid maybe, or maybe a Harden. I mean, there's other guys you can go to around that range that are a little bit more expensive or a little bit cheaper even. So, but I do like Jimmy Butler here. What are your thoughts here, Jamie, on Jimmy Butler against the Philadelphia 76ers?
For me, Jimmy Butler, I actually have him in some tiers-based lineups. But at that price tag, when constructing lineups, I found myself wanting to balance it out in other ways. But I think that's a nice way to go if you got Shea and Jimmy kind of building around that. And you can do that. I think one thing I wanted to get to before we go, is this going to be an Embiid like MVP candidacy game? Is he going to treat it that way?
He just had one. I mean, exactly like minus 400. So I don't think there's a lot of incentive for the Sixers to play their guys a whole lot of minutes.
I just think that's a key narrative.
Yeah,
that's a key.
He'll be out. Yeah,
we just got to figure that as DFS players, like narrative based with Embiid before making that decision to totally fade him. If you think he's just going to hammer it home with an exclamation point against the Heat on TNT tonight with the boys back, Chuck and Kenny and Shaq and everyone back. So you never know. Maybe he wants one more statement game, and if so, I could see the Heat trying to match him with they're not technically eliminated from the 6th seed. So I do love Jimmy. I only got to him in one lineup, but I do like him at that price and building around him and Shea. I think that's smart.
The fact that they haven't ruled out Embiid or Harden yet. Go ahead, Arnold. I'm sorry, but the fact they haven't ruled them out yet is a little troubling to me because I think they might play their full allotment of minutes. But go ahead, Arnold. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, if we're talking narrative here, I think we should talk the narrative of Jalen Williams, Rookie of the Year, with Paolo Banchero out tonight.
Oh, I got a plus 1,200 or 12,000 ticket on that, so let's go.
Hey, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. I love Jalen Williams, man. I mean, if he could go off and
he's fun.
And if the Thunder can win this game, I mean, hey, no Paolo tonight. I don't know, man. Rookie of the Year.
It's pretty.
Yeah, go ahead, James.
I was just going to say, it's pretty wild that we're sitting here on, April 6th, doing the Silly Season DFS show, and the OKC team is like one of the most locked-in, trustworthy plays of the night. Like, usually they're the Silly Season heroes, but the Spurs, the Blazers, they've taken the baton from them and ran with it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the Thunder are actually a really fun team. I've watched a lot of them this season. I'm rooting for them. We're about 50 seconds here to lock here. Thank you guys so much for joining us, by the way. If you guys haven't liked and subscribed already, please do like and subscribe. We love you guys. Follow us on Twitter. All of our handles are on the screen there. You can see them. Give us a little follow. We would love you guys for that. We appreciate you making this our most watched show so far this season, which is on this ridiculous slate. A very silly and stupid slate. That's probably the perfect time for us to get the most viewership we had. But we're going to keep bringing this to you guys through the playoffs here. We are going to stick around a little bit after lock just to kind of let you guys know what ownership we're seeing on some of these guys we're talking about. Since there's 3 of us and we seem to have somewhat different lineups, we should have some pretty interesting guys to kind of look at. And this is one of the most interesting, probably. I really don't know. Projecting ownership here is really difficult because it's just, you know, who knows who's going to sit, who's going to play, who people think are going to sit and play. That's probably the hardest part there. Yeah, I just don't know. So
I think the Bull ownership is going to be crazy. Just because it's Bull, he's 3,000 and he's starting. I would guess upward of 40% on Bull, but I'm looking forward to seeing that. Absolutely. All right, we're at 6 o'clock, boys.
Yep, we are locked in. So let's try to refresh here and give some idea of the ownership we're seeing, guys. I know it takes a minute for it to pop up, so we will get that up here. But I'm really curious to see, Bull, what he's owned at. Looks like we might have FanDuel up already. Let's see here.
There we go.
So Raul Neto, this is kind of what I suspected for Raul. I went with him on both sides, actually, but he was only 5.3% owned on FanDuel, which is really good for me. Hopefully he can outperform Ricky Rubio, which I'm guessing has higher percentage. Bull on FanDuel, 35.8. That's about probably what I would guess. 35. Yeah, and again, I'm playing single entry GPPs, so take it for what it's worth. If you're playing cash, you might be higher on than that. If you're playing, heads up or whatever, or not heads up, obviously if you're playing heads up, but if you're playing, a smaller field or something like that, it might be different. But any guys your guys are seeing that are kind of jumping out to you?
All right, I got mine pulled up, boys. So we got Jalen Suggs, and this is the $200,000 price pool shoot around on DraftKings. So this is the big one, the $20 buy-in. So Suggs came in at 41.8. And Bull came in at 42. So seems reasonable, but people were getting them in as they should.
Yeah. I like it, man. Anything you're noticing out there, Arnold?
Yeah. So I have Jalen Suggs over here at 54. I didn't go into that 20 when we have different plays over here. But yeah, I know the high on over 50% and over or 74% for Chetty Osman. I don't know who's listening and who's coming in Chetty, but that's crazy.
74, Arnold?
74.
Damn. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mo Wagner 62.
A lot of people are
this is definitely a smaller pool, though.
Yeah, a lot of people are trusting Chetty Osman. I don't know. That's never been wise for me in the past. I mean, that's fine. I get it. It's cool. He's a fine play. But no, that's cool. I'm trying to pull up. For some reason, this isn't up to. Okay, there we go. 36.7% for Bull and DK and Neto is at 3.4%. So there's some interesting guys there. Again, I think I have a chance to hit on a home run there with Neto because he is a permanent guy. So
that's smart. He's done it for a long time, getting the chance as far as putting up stats.
I think Maxey got ruled out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's because Harden, Melton, Harris, Tucker, Embiid. Let me start.
Well, again, guys, make sure you do like and subscribe. Make sure you're following us all on Twitter. We are going to be bringing this to you guys. But until next time, I am Keith Cork, and these are Arnold Cadena and Jamie McQuarrie. I hope I said that right, Jamie.
You did. You nailed it, kid.
All right, I nailed it. We will see you guys next time, though.
All right, y'all. Good luck with the craziness.